Hey everyone, welcome to Patriot Resell Box. I give you my commentary on the news today as reported by the Wall Street Journal. First up, it is the last day of the year, so Happy New Year in advance. Well, I will do a video tomorrow, so say Happy New Year again, but still, might as well say it now. So, according to the business section, Disney reigned king this year in the box office. I mean, duh. But really though, it's like pretty much like a lot of the major movies that came out this year were flops. Like from the major studios, like Gemini Man bombed, Dark Phoenix bombed, the new Terminator movie bombed, the new Men in Black movie bombed. I'm not sure about Jumanji because it just came out this. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And it came out this December, so it's like a little too early to call it yet. But still, I mean, it's not. It's performing well, but not as well as the makers of it hoped. So I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll turn itself around. Oh, and Joker was a big hit. So, but then all the other big hits this year. That's all Disney. Like, there's oh, and well, I was gonna say Spider-Man, but technically, Spider-Man: Far From Home is a Sony movie, legally speaking. Like, luckily, I own both that and Homecoming because they're part of Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise, but they're legally owned by Sony, which means you're not gonna find them on Disney Plus because Sony owned back in the '90s Marvel before it became part of Disney. They never sell all of their characters to Sony, but Sony only wants Spider-Man ones. Because, as they said, no one cares about the other ones. Because Spider-Man, like, he's referred to as funny enough that Disney bought Marvel. He's referred to as Marvel's Mickey Mouse, just given like popularity and the fact that like once he was introduced, that Marvel really took off. So yeah, and then they tried the same thing again with Fox, except they didn't offer the Spider-Man characters because Sony already had those, and they just took the X-Men, and so Marvel was left with the Avengers, hence the franchise. But yeah, so Spider-Man was a big hit, earning over $1 billion, but not a Disney movie. Well, there was Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, Lion King, and Aladdin, so both those were remakes. And then there's Frozen 2, Toy Story 4, and what was the other one? Oh yeah, Rise of Skywalker, which looks like it's disappointed Disney, like as far as how well it's doing, but it's still doing pretty well. I mean, it's a movie. It's earned how much? Like, yeah, about $0.72 billion thus far. So it's $720 million. That's pretty good. That's much better than Iron Man ever got. So yeah, Disney apparently. Though maybe there is something truly magical about Disney. Okay, maybe. Like, I know it's something to say at Disneyland, but come on, the fact that Disney outperformed everybody this year, I'm like. Maybe Disney's got something like magic up the sleeve. I don't know. Maybe. But onto political news. It's funny that environmentalists want clean power, but then they get mad when people want to build power lines, to transmit clean power, because power plants are built far away from cities, and so you need power lines to get from the plants to the cities. And so a lot of states have invested pretty heavily in clean power, like California has, Washington has, surprisingly Texas. I say surprisingly because, they're such a big oil state. But, they still have a lot of clean power apparently. Trouble is, in a lot of states, especially like in the more liberal ones like California, they go build the plants away from cities, like to, not stirring with the noise, or the case of a dirty plant, which these aren't. They would be like the smoke and whatever. But now the environmentalists are getting mad about the environment being ruined by building power lines. I don't see how that can ruin environments. Like, people like pipelines ruin the environment, power lines ruin the environment. First of all, oil pipelines. If you got rid of regulations that made it difficult to maintain the lines to keep them secure or intact, then there'd be no problem with pipelines. It could just be like a little metal or concrete tube winding through the countryside. And if it was well maintained, it's not going to leak anywhere. It's ironically enough, it's the regulations they're meant to. It's all the environmental regulations that make things worse because they can't fix them. Same thing. That's why PG&E is burning down California. And in the case of power lines, it's much of wooden poles. It's wood at least, so it's like more nature than concrete, and just like wires. Not a big deal, but apparently they think it is. If you want clean power, then you got to be prepared to accept some power lines. I mean. That's just dumb. Also, the Texas shooter, they identified the guy, but they haven't found a motive yet, so that's a bust. And as since the census is next year, the Census Bureau already took some estimates of what's going to happen. Apparently, for the first time since it became a state in 1850, California will actually lose seats this year because the census is meant to help reallocate House of Representatives members and consequently Electoral College members to states, just based on population shifts over the past 10 years. And California, for the first time in history, is going to lose a seat in the House of Representatives, meaning it'll lose an Electoral College vote as well. Texas will gain a couple, so will Arizona and Florida, and like a lot of the growth in is in southwest area, like general South U.S. because people are trying to, because usually more southern states have essentially better economic policy because they're more conservative, and so people are fleeing there. Problem is, then they vote for liberals and rule in those states. So you almost gotta wonder if they're purposely being sent there by their state governments to ruin every other state with liberalism to see if it'll work elsewhere. You gotta wonder, but maybe not. Maybe these people just don't learn. But yeah, people from California are fleeing to Texas, which I swear that's why there's like when I live in Texas, like why is there an In-N-Out Burger and a Trader Joe's opening up? Like probably because all the Californians, including myself, moved there. Seriously, and then New Yorkers are fleeing to Florida. My mom's cousin actually was one of the main people from Illinois fleeing to Texas from taxes. So yeah, in Florida and Texas are like, quit voting for liberals. You ruined your own state. Let's have our own. But also, so the migration to states with better fiscal policy, plus the influx of Latinos to Arizona and Texas especially, is boosting Arizona and Texas's vote share. Good, that is good, but it also means that that it's very likely to turn liberal because one, you have an influx of liberals from states, and two, immigrants are more likely anyway to vote Democrat, which is, especially in the first year of living in the U.S., which is kind of odd if you think about it because a lot of immigrants are, especially from Latin America, are fleeing liberal policies, and they come and vote for liberal policies. It seems odd to me. Maybe they think the U.S. has more wealth, so it'll have a better chance. I don't know. But yeah, Texas, it's very narrowly a Republican state. It's nowhere near as conservative as it's made out to be. But who knows? It might flip. Arizona could flip. If Texas were to, let me tell you, if Texas had flipped in 2016, i.e., if it had been blue instead of red, Hillary would be president right now. So Texas is a pretty critical state when you're second in size in both population and area. But yeah, some people are predicting that it will benefit the Republican states because a lot of the migration is there. So as long as they can stay Republican, then Republicans will probably benefit greatly after the census. And then there's still a problem in the Middle East with women and children left behind by ISIS because some women fled Western countries or just their own Middle Eastern countries to join ISIS, and now that ISIS is almost destroyed, they're stuck there. I think it's funny people want to be brought, women and some men want to be who join ISIS from Europe or America want to be brought back. I'm like, no, you joined ISIS. You renounce your Western citizen. You renounce your American citizenship and joined ISIS. You ain't ever coming back. I don't care if when you were born, George Bush himself delivered you on the steps of Capitol Hill while the Blue Angel flew overhead and God Bless America was being sung by Bruce Springsteen in the background. I don't care. If you join ISIS, you're gone. You're never getting your U.S. citizenship back. That's the way it should be. It's sad that women and children left in these camps, but you joined ISIS. You ain't ever coming back. Ever. Bert, you put in the prison camp here. So, prison camp in the Middle East or prison camp in the U.S.? And that prison camp in the U.S. will probably be Guantanamo Bay, which is really in Cuba. You decide. On over to the op-ed section, there's an article entitled Amy Klobuchar's Secret List, because she was asked at the last debate who her Supreme Court nominees would be, because she called Trump's nominees to the Supreme Court, Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh, horrible, and other Democrats have had similar, laments about his Supreme Court picks and just his nominees to other positions in general. And so for candidates who make such a big deal of the Supreme Court, you think they'd have a well-published list by now of who they'd want to put on the court, But I mean, close we got to that is Joe Biden saying maybe he'd put Obama on the court, or saying that Kamala Harris can make a good Supreme Court justice. That's about it. But seriously, you think they'd put a list out, but all Klobuchar said was like, "No, I'm not going to tell you the list, but maybe like some of like she name dropped Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Elena Kagan, Stephen Breyer, and Sonia Sotomayor, which are the 4 liberal justices currently at the Supreme Court." She said their picks are in the same vein of those candidates. Like, she's trying to please most not all of the Democrats by saying that well, just pick some more liberals and liberal moderates, that kind of people. And so article speculating, why not publicize the whole list? I mean, to be fair, it wasn't a tradition to do it up until very recently. Trump, the norm breaker, as I think, maybe they should put that in his eulogy, the norm breaker. I like that actually. But other Republican candidates around in 2016 were saying, oh yeah, we'll pick Clarence Thomas, Antonin Scalia kind of guys for the Supreme Court. Trump actually put a whole list of people he'd want to nominate the Supreme Court. He had some conservative think tanks help him out because he wanted to pick candidates to please conservatives because he's not really a conservative himself, really. So in a lot of ways, but by picking conservative justices, he could appeal to conservatives. So he put out his list. So this article says maybe Democrats should do the same thing. I mean, for parties making such a big stink about the Supreme Court, you think they put out a list of justices, and Klobuchar could be doing it to protect herself. I mean, if you think about it, she's one of the few moderates in the race, and so if she put out a list of moderates, the liberals would get pissed. But if, say, Sanders or Warren put out their preferred wish list, then that could turn off a lot of moderates because they might put some super liberals on the court. Also, not good. So they could be doing it maybe just because they don't want to lose to get as many votes as they can. But really, but in 2016, for 56% of the people who said that the Supreme Court was the most important factor in determining who to vote for, Trump or Clinton. 56% of them, they picked Trump because he actually put out a list of candidates that he put on the Supreme Court. Clinton did not. And then, let's see. And then finally, there's an article about how there's a sociologist in Harvard saying that police killings of unarmed blacks substantially decrease the birth weight and gestational age of black infants residing nearby, meaning that that babies are born prematurely or weak if there's shootings, if blacks are shot nearby them. Black babies are weaker when born because of nearby black shootings. And at first when I read that, I was thinking, well, I can see where you get that because stress is on shootings would increase the maternal stress, and stress on the mother reduces the health of the unborn baby. So in a way that kind of makes sense. But then the problem was statistics can be very easily manipulated. As I learned in statistics class, it's super easy. If you want to poll someone on something, say in a shopping mall, your poll is overwhelmingly going to represent old people and teenagers more than any other group of people because that's just at the mall. So you see so there's a problem. For example, here it was all California. That's it. So already a side of the problem because California is whacked up. And you're I know, but on a side note, people say if conservative policies work, then why aren't red states richer than blue states? It's because California takes up a third of all welfare benefits, and so they're sucking money out of the red states through the taxes they pay to the federal government. They're just giving to California. That's why they're poor. Duh. But the results are the records did show for black babies that fit the bill, but not for Hispanic or white. So what's up with that? White kids getting shot, unarmed white people getting shot apparently doesn't affect white babies. Same case with Hispanics. So what's the dealio? And they say his explanation was that it's driven by perceptions of racism. Last I checked, the United States fought a major war against a Hispanic country, Mexico, in the 1840s, and you'd think, and still apparently for race claims are still being oppressed by the United States, you'd think maybe some of that would still be there. If it is for blacks, then it might be for Latinos. You don't know. But apparently no, it's like it only affects one race. So like, all right, it's kind of questionable. Like, why didn't it affect other people? Then Ben said he was tracked after a week because because a lot more stuff came out. The whole thing was botched and whatnot. So it's like apparently. Oh, and one of his another claim was that if a non-white is shot, they actually increase it. Like it's actually positive for a non-black child. So basically, studies claim that we should shoot whites to help non-white babies. Well, he didn't actually say that, but that's one conclusion you could draw from the study, which I think is kind of messed up. That's all I got for you in this episode of Patriot Soapbox. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great daily content.